All right, gentlemen, and 0.4% of a lady, I have a couple of farms that I'm going to show to you today. All right, I'm going to talk about two strategies here today. I'm going to do one first and then the second one second. The first one is a very expensive strategy for people who've been playing the league for a while and have a lot of disposable currency and can already run rogue exiles, etc., etc. The second strategy will be for some of the newer guys out there who maybe are playing the league for the first time, showed up late, playing a little slower, whatever. If you have a little bit less currency, the second one that I will show will be much more accessible. It's just strong boxes, and I assure you will make a ton of currency doing it. I had a guy playing his first league in chat who was making 3 to 5 divine a day doing harbingers. He swapped over to this strongbox set in T16s. He spent 10 divines on his idols and made 16 divines almost instantly. But we'll get to that one here in a bit. I don't have any editing skills, so I will have you use your imagination. Just envision this ring moving to the center of your screen, surrounded in glowing light with angelic music playing. This is the key to the Titanic Exiles strategy in the way that I am doing them. All right, as you can see over by my sell tab here, I have endless amounts of blue idols that I have been selling. I was running negative rarity yesterday on stream, and I found out a couple of things. I figured I would share it with people so we could start getting more of these back into the market because they are getting exceedingly rare. I have already sold the majority of my valuable ones. Most of these are overpriced, which is why they're not still selling. Yesterday I did some recombinating at the end of the stream where my bank account went down to literally 0 divines, and without farming anything else, I'm already back up to 228 just from selling off magic idols mostly. I made this video a couple of days ago, hypothesizing that rarity may impact the number of idols dropped, but that is not actually what's happening. Thankfully, somebody in chat corrected me and told me what was actually going on. When I reduced my rarity down to negative 100 while farming harbingers, what was happening is I was converting the idols from magic down into normal. And if you take a second to think about how many normal idols you've seen this league, you'll quickly find out that that answer is 0. So I was in fact just disabling them, and increasing your rarity does not do anything to increase the amount of idols that you're dropping. However, when running Titanic Exiles, when you reduce your rarity in the exact perfect way, you can find so many magic 3x1s and 2x2s. I have my rare 3x1s disabled, so all I can see is magic 3x1s, which are insanely valuable if you hit the right rolls on them, and same with the Conqueror's idols. As you can see, I have cleared most of this map, but I haven't even popped the rituals yet, and I already have an overflowing inventory of these magic idols. I think during this 4-hour farming session, I filled up just about an entire quad tab in about, I don't know, 3/4 of another one. I get so many of these, it's insane. I found something like 5 or 6, 12% increased explicit isolated, as well as a bunch of other Fortune favors the brave packsize, and the scarabs one. There's so many good ones that you can get, and then it's only a matter of time before one of your conquerors idols ends up hitting rogue exiles or something, and you find your jackpot. In my opinion, this is far exceeding how much you can get from uniques. Later on in the same map, I have already depoted my entire inventory. I come back in and I finish out the rest of the rituals, and here again soon you will see that I was able to fill up my entire inventory again for 2 full inventories of 3x1s and Conqueror's idols. There's a couple of things I've learned about this so far. Initially, when I tried this, I tried it on Titanic Scarab of Legend, which is not the move with negative 65% rarity specifically. You have to find a balance for the content you're running. Basically, if you run Legend, you need to drop it more. I don't have exact numbers for you on Legend, but I would guess somewhere around negative 100. I'm not really sure. And then if you run something like even a Delirium Orb, you also need to drop it more than negative 65. Negative 65 has been about the perfect sweet spot for just double wisp and non-delirium. If I make any changes to that, then I start seeing significantly less idols. So depending on how far you're able to drop your rarity will be what you need to run, right? Like if you can only find, say, an amulet with negative 100, then maybe try it with a Delirium Orb. If you can only find, negative 100, maybe try it with Titanic of Legend. But if you can find like negative 65, that is your perfect sweet spot for finding as many idols as you possibly can, I believe. Right? And then on top of the idols, we also get our chances for our tier one, tier zero currency as well. So it's just money on top of money. The strategy is great with the rising cost of the wisp scarabs. It's getting a little painful to run double wisp if your build isn't capable of Titanic of Legends. And I can assure you, if you're running double wisp, you have very high odds to find mirrors and locks. Two of my mirrors were found on double wisp, as well as around 10 locks. So you can find many, trust me. And then the idols on top of that just really help with boosting your currency up a little bit to help pay for that double wisp. The idol set I'm running is just the standard 3% increased explicit with a chance for ruckus, as well as the this imperfect quantity pack size increased explicit. Wild rogue exiles are possessed, and then bam, bam, and then just your generic scarabs and chance for rituals. I really need to recraft some of these. Holy shit! But yeah, that's all I'm running. Not really much more to it than that. Experiment around with it. Try different rarities. Try different, delirium or legends, and get to your sweet spot for just finding an absolute insane amount of blue idols. All right, now for the strong boxes. This stream here is actually strong boxes. I forgot to change my thumbnail because I am a noob content creator. And then this one here is the magic idols if you want to go back and check out either of these farms. And this one here, I think I have a timestamp for how you can craft idols if you're not sure how to do it. But we'll take a look at these strong boxes real quick for some of you new guys out there, and or veterans as well. The strategy did pay very well on the high end. Towards the end of this stream here, I do the calculations for everything. It came out to about 35 divine an hour without lucky drops, but I assure you I am finding tons and tons of lucky drops. I duped 2 hidden cores during this farm here. The day before, I also ran for a handful of hours and I duped a House of Mirrors. I also had a guy in chat link me his pilfering ring. He has been running strong boxes the entire league. Now he said he's playing like 8 to 12 hours a day, so he's playing a lot. He's opening a lot of strong boxes, but he has duped 8 mirrors, which is insane. I believe he is on the lucky end. He said he's only duped 1 hidden core's lock, so every time he's found T0, it's rolled Mirror of Kalandra for him, which is insane. But even still, even if he's only duped 8 locks in 1 mirror, that's still super fucking cool. Who doesn't want to dupe a mirror? I know it's one of like the last remaining goals I have on this game. So I assure you these strong boxes are paying very well. Also, these things are just so fun to do, man. Like, it is such a breath of fresh air to go from getting my ass kicked on Titanic Exiles with these random nonsense builds I'm trying to play, to just going through and blowing up screens and being nearly immortal. It's so much fun to open Arcanus and Diviners after Arcanus and Diviners. It's such a good time. I decided to try this out because a lot of times I get people coming in my stream and they're like, "Hey Jay, how would you start this league if you were just coming in now?" And my answer is always very simply, I did strong boxes. I think you should do strong boxes too. And then without fail, somebody else says, "Don't do strong boxes. Strong boxes are bait." And in my head, I haven't tested it other than day two of the league, so I didn't really know. But in my head, I'm like, there's that's not fucking possible, dude. Like, nothing from strong boxes really loses value. It's all like divine orbs, hidden cores, mirrors. It's apothecaries. It's you know level 4 enlightens, and dragon's hearts and powers, whatever. It's all the stuff just still has massive value. It's not possible that you could lose money doing these. And then I started thinking, well, maybe they're running containment, and that's where you can lose your ass if you're not running a top tier idol set. You don't want to be running containment with a weak idol set, because you are investing so much currency into your map that you have to make so much currency back out. And it's very easy to probably only make 5 divine an hour or something terrible. However, when you do it on tier 16s and you do it with just ambush and discernment scarabs and which potency, I believe, whichever one increases the explicit, then your maps are basically dirt cheap. I think these cost me 25 to 35 chaos a piece. And as you can see in the top right corner of the screen, I have basically a containment while running these. So for 35 chaos, I get a containment. I get to reopen these all the time. I am just like spitting currency out. I think, yeah, 35 divine an hour without lucky, and then probably around 70 to 80 divine an hour with lucky. And that's going to vary. Obviously, you're not going to get a House of Mirrors and a Duke Tentacores lock every time, but I assure you, if you open strong boxes enough over and over, you will, in fact, find some super rare stuff. It's bound to happen. It has to happen. It's just kind of the way the odds of the game work. For rolling the maps, I simply regex in, 70% quantity, and then I roll through all the maps and I pull out the ones that are over 70. You can't do 80, you just get less maps, but 80 would be better. And then after I pull these out, I usually regex them out to make some easier maps. I did level to 100 doing this, so I was going for a bit of a stricter regex, uh, and then scour them all out, and then do it again, and just fill up an entire tab of maps that you can run. It's so much nicer than rolling T17s. So much easier to access, and in general, I just prefer T16s over T17s, especially since they're cheap and just it's just less bullshit you have to deal with. And you'll absolutely sustain your maps. In order to get the bulk of these, I just ran one T17 with some multitude scarabs, and then I was good to go. I self-sustained the rest. They're much nicer to roll than T17s. It's just a lot less bullshit. And in general, I do think it's probably paying more than T17 because your overhead is just so cheap in comparison. So let's talk a little bit about the scarabs that I use for it, and the idols that I'm using. So we're just going to use a basic 3 ambush with 1 discernment and 1 potency, and then we will run ambush on the map device. The total cost of this is essentially free. Okay, they're down to oh, that's divine. Sorry, they're down to 15 chaos each. I think it might be like 25 chaos to open this map. It's so dirt cheap, and the idol set that you want to use is something like this. Now I know this is very expensive. I went out of my mind making like super giga awesome idols. These aren't even the ones that I used on the video, by the way. I think a bunch of them were 7% openable again, as well as some weaker arcanist ones. But like I said in the beginning, I had a guy, I taught him how to do it. He went out and spent 10 divine on a set, and he made 16 divine almost instantly. So like, yes, you may not make 35 divine an hour without super awesome idols, but you build up to that, right? Like you want to start and get as many of these as you can. Um, if you're low on currency, then just go down to like 50% each, right? Like, and if you don't know how to craft these, just go back in some of my streams. I have some stuff time stamped, and I can show you exactly how to craft stuff like this. But on this one here, say you only have 10 divines, and just go with like 1 strong box. Go with 5% openable again, and the rare and the corrupted will be a little expensive. Unfortunately, there's no way around that. They've been going up in price. Edit this in. If you're really low on currency, you actually don't have to put rare and corrupted on your idols just to start out. That's actually how I started the league out, is I was just hand rolling my strong boxes, which is a little tedious, of course. Like you'd rather be just opening them and going very quickly, but when you do hand roll them, you get to select like really, really strong boxes, and so you do end up making a lot of currency. So if you're very low and you can't get strong boxes are rare and corrupted initially, then just go with hand rolling and get a bunch of strong boxes on your map with increased chance for arcanists and diviners, and then eventually work your way up to corrupting them and making them rare. But for your other two, just go with like 3% increased explicit modifier, 1 strong box, and 5% openable again. Just make something very cheap. You can make that idol for probably less than a divine, maybe a divine, um, depending on how much the 5% openable again is. I think it's very cheap. I don't think anyone really wants that at this stage of the league. And then, for these ones here, obviously if you go for the 70s, it's insanely expensive. Don't go for the 70s. Go for like 50s or something. Um, as cheap as you can get them. You can make 50/50s for probably like 50 chaos. I'm pretty sure last I looked. And then whatever ones of these you cannot find, just replace with this right here, right? Like if you can only get your hands on so many of these, then just get as many as you can and replace the rest of your idle inventory with these 20% increased quantity. I actually don't know which one is better. I think running 2 of these is a little bit better than running a 20% quantity, but the 20% quantity is still very, very good. Even though you're not getting tons of arcanists and diviners, the ones that you do get will be super juiced up from these quantities. So, if you can't afford a full set of these, just grab a couple of these. I was not actually running this during that 80 map test. What I was running was a 12% increased explicit with an additional strongbox and currency dupe, and then I ran another one that was the same but with divination cards. So you don't need to go stupid, spend all your money like me, and throw it all into one idol. You can just split these into 2 as long as you have currency dupe and divination dupe. And I would say probably the additional strongbox, right? Like the increased effect is very expensive, so you don't have to put that on, or you could maybe do like an 8% one. That's also very cheap. edit this in also. I do think that the increased explicit is better than an additional strongbox. It is just more expensive. But say if you have 25 strongboxes on your map, then increasing all of those strongboxes by like 10% quantity or whatever this explicit is giving would be better than just adding one single additional strongbox. However, it does make it more expensive. Maybe drop it down to like 8, 9, 10% explicit modifiers, whatever you can get, and then just combine that with currency and divination cards, and that'll probably be your best in slot 3 affix uh, idol for a cheap set. Just build it based on wherever your currency is at. Um, but the end game goal is to slowly improve them and make them better and better as you go. And I promise you, you will make tons and tons of currency with the cost of these scarabs. It is impossible to not make ass loads of currency, even if you only start at 10 divines an hour. Make 30 divines and then improve a couple of these, and then now you're at 15 divine an hour or whatever, and then rinse and repeat. That's the kind of the beauty of this league and idols is you could keep reinvesting your money back into these idols to make your farms better and better as you go. Also with these 3x1s, I actually don't know what's better. I'm kind of just trying things out. You probably don't even need the explicit effect at all. Like you could just make a single one of these. I made this is the example that I made on my last stream that has the timestamp. I think I made both of these together for like I don't know what it was, like 800 chaos or something. It was maybe a little more than that, maybe like 1,000 chaos. But you don't buy these outright. Make them yourself, and if you don't know how to do that, go check out that timestamp. But you could also put it increase explicit. That will increase the quantity of your map, therefore increasing the quantity of your strong boxes. But make it however you want to make it. It's pretty much impossible to lose money. Experiment with stuff. You're gonna make so much from this that you can make a bunch of different idols and try different stuff out. But I think I've been ranting a lot. I think that's really all I have to say. If you're newer and I didn't clarify this well enough for you and you have some more questions, feel free to stop in the stream. I randomly will, give a demonstration of how I craft stuff like this from time to time. Like I said, some of my old VODs already have timestamps on it if you're not sure how to do it. Um, but yeah, good luck to you. That's all I got. I'm going to try some Blight stuff next, I think. I don't think it's going to go good, so I wouldn't rush out to buy all the Blight shit up. I'm pretty sure it's going to be bad, but I still want to try it out. Um, and yeah, that's all.